All right, so you guys sent this very interesting one this time.
Oh, yeah.
The Amazon page for a Kindle ebook called by A.J. Lee, and along with some reader reviews too.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be doing today is pretty straightforward.
Yep.
We're going to be getting under the skin of this book.
Yeah, that's right.
Figuring out what makes it tick. And share some of those initial reactions to the book with you all.
Exactly.
Giving you guys like a quick but hopefully thorough understanding of what this book is about.
That's the mission.
Yeah.
A quick deep dive.
Yeah, exactly. A deep dive into...
Now, this is a book it's really interesting how it's making its presence felt in the Kindle store right now, especially in certain categories that we'll get to.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got the key details here, those first impressions. We'll try to give you guys a clear picture.
Okay, great. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
By A.J. Lee. It's a Kindle edition.
Kindle edition.
Came out a while back, actually, May 1st, 2015. Not a very long book.
Right.
Coming in at a neat 51 pages.
Okay. Nice and concise.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is also interesting. It's the first in a trilogy.
Oh, wow.
The series.
Interesting.
And if you're interested, you can just buy all three right away as a bundle, too.
Oh, very cool.
So now for the juicy stuff, the setup here is really interesting.
Yeah.
The main character, Joslyn, she finds herself in a private BDSM club called the Ebony Room.
The Ebony Room. I like it already. It
Yeah.
sounds intriguing.
Yeah, so she isn't there for fun, though, or by accident.
Oh, okay.
She's there for research.
Okay.
For a book that she's planning to write.
Oh, wow. So meta.
Yeah, exactly.
A book about a book.
Yeah, so of course things get a little more complicated, right?
Of course, always happens.
Right, when she meets this really compelling figure, Sir Justin, who is a dom,
Okay.
tall, dark and handsome.
Not how we like them.
Exactly.
Blase.
But get this, he's been celibate for 3 years.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting twist.
Yeah, and so the product page is very upfront about what this book is about. We're going to be seeing like the unfolding of fetishes and fantasies in this encounter between Joslyn and Sir Justin.
All right. So it's getting spicy.
Yes, exactly. The heat level here is
I
spicy.
was going to say.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty spicy to me.
And the author also mentions that, well, book one doesn't end on like a traditional cliffhanger. There's a part two.
Okay.
So that means that, you know.
We're invested. We got to know what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep you on the hook.
Right. So there's a couple of things at play here, right?
Yeah, I think so.
There's the inherent intrigue of discovery, not just for Joslyn as she's navigating this new environment, but potentially for the listener too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If
you're curious about that world.
Exactly. And then you also have this detail about Sir Justin's celibacy.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think really adds a level of tension right from the get-go.
It really does. I mean, what kind of dynamic is that going to create? Zach, like, how is this all going to play out?
You know what I mean? It adds like another layer of complexity to the whole thing.
Like, let's get to some of the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about picking this book up, it's available on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay.
Or you can buy it outright for just 99 cents.
Wow.
Which is pretty low barrier to entry.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
And then the whole 3-book bundle is only $2.97.
Oh, wow. So you could really get into it if you wanted to.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, when you do purchase it, it specifies that you're purchasing a license to the content.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that before.
Yeah. That's pretty standard for a lot of digital goods these days.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But it's always good to point out.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, for those of you who want to kind of like dip your toes in the water first, there is a free sample available.
Oh, nice.
Which is always a good way to get a sense of the author's style.
Yeah, see if it grabs you. It's exactly, see if the story grabs you before you commit. And they make it really easy to access, too.
Oh, good.
You can read it instantly in your browser with Kindle for web.
Yeah.
Or through the Kindle app on your phone or your tablet.
Nice. So convenient.
Yeah, so you don't even need a Kindle device.
That's great.
I also really like the author bio, which I thought added a nice personal touch.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
A.J. Lee describes herself as a simple girl living in a complex world.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Relatable.
Right. And she writes because the characters in her head get a bit too demanding.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just got to come out.
She also mentions her dog, Lily D.
Oh.
And she has this funny little story about her neighbors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really interesting. She hints at this valet story.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I know.
Right, a valet story.
But, you know, it's just nice little details like that that makes the author, you know.
Yeah, feel more real.
More human.
Yeah.
It makes you want to read their work, you know.
Definitely. I mean, it makes them more approachable, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So we also have some of the, more technical details listed here, like the ASN, which is B00WWS20UpDatSJW.
B00WS29SJW.
Exactly. And the publisher is Brookshaven.
Brookshaven.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for those of you who are really into, the specifics of the reading experience, it does mention that features like page flip word-wise and enhanced typesetting are all enabled.
All right. So they've got all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And then also unlimited simultaneous device usage.
Oh, wow.
And text-to-speech is enabled.
That's great. Yeah. So many options.
So that kind of gives us like a good foundation of, the book itself and how it's presented to you guys.
Yeah.
But where things really get interesting is the reader reviews.
Always.
Right.
Let's see what people are saying.
So this book is sitting at a very respectable 4.3 out of 5 stars with 91 ratings.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. So what were some of your, initial impressions?
Well, just scrolling through these reviews, I'm getting an overwhelmingly positive feeling. Yeah. It seems like readers were really drawn into this, introduction to the BDSM world through Joslyn's perspective.
Yeah.
And the relationship between her and Sir Justin seems to have captivated people. It seems like a lot of people felt like this was a really good starting point, especially if you're new to exploring BDSM in fiction.
Yeah, we actually had a reviewer who specifically said it was a good explanation of BDSM for a novice.
Oh, yeah. Perfect for beginners.
Yeah, exactly. And then another reader was so into it that they actually expressed a desire to visit the Ebony Room themselves.
Oh, wow. That's commitment.
Yeah, like they wanted to go there.
That's awesome.
And that really speaks to the immersive quality of the storytelling, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah, like they were really transported there in their mind.
Yeah, so a lot of the other reviewers used phrases like realistic introduction to Dee's dynamics. And mentioned this simmering feeling throughout the book.
Ooh, I like that simmering feeling. It's a slow burn.
Yeah, exactly. And then one comment that really stood out to me was how Sir Justin educated those of us not familiar with the BDSM world through Joslyn.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, it's like we learn alongside the main character.
Yeah, because it's very effective.
Yeah, very clever.
Yeah.
And then we also saw a review from someone new to this author.
Okay.
And they were very impressed and immediately wanted to read book 2.
Of course they did.
Yeah. And what's interesting is this review was posted very recently.
Oh, wow.
In March of 2025.
So just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So this book is still finding new readers even now.
It's still relevant.
Yeah. And then someone from the UK described it as captivating, and they also immediately bought the next book.
All right. So the appeal is international.
Yeah.
This is a global phenomenon we're dealing with here.
Right.
Wow.
So it seems like the author has managed to create a really compelling world.
Yeah.
And some characters that, people are really invested in.
It's a page turner.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I guess a screen swiper these days.
Right. Okay, so it's important to point out some of the criticisms as well.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right. So one reviewer mentioned too many editing mistakes for a book this short.
Okay, I can see how that would be annoying.
Yeah. And then another reviewer described their initial reaction as confused. But then kind of like reframed it as a guide and a lesson.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it seems like while it is a good introduction for some people, some people might find the themes or how they're presented to be a little bit,
disorienting, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We also saw a really interesting comment from someone who specifically wanted more POC BDSM stories.
Yeah.
And appreciated the honesty of the characters in this book.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
It's so important to have diverse representation in literature, especially in genres that have historically been,
more homogenous.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're a reader looking for, Black and African American erotica, that authentically explores BDSM themes. This feedback suggests this book might be a good option.
Yeah, exactly.
Might be hitting the right note.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a second. Why do you think a spicy short read that doesn't end on a cliffhanger would have this kind of appeal?
Well, I think there are a few reasons. First of all, the shorter length makes it a less daunting commitment. You
could read it in one sitting.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can, get that sense of completion, which can be really satisfying.
Yeah.
And then also the spicy label.
Right. It sets expectations.
It tells you what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Right. Then the fact that it doesn't end on a cliffhanger,
Yeah.
in the first book,
Yeah.
it gives you a sense of closure while still, leaving the door open for the rest of the series. So it's like a low pressure way to explore a new author or a new genre, you know?
Yeah. And I thought it was fascinating to see how the reactions ranged from immediate immersion and wanting more to that initial confusion.
Right.
Which then turned into seeing it as a guide.
Yeah, it's really interesting how different people can react to the same material.
Right. And it shows how differently each of us might approach a book like this,
Exactly.
based on our own experiences and expectations.
You bring your own baggage to every book you read, don't you? And that shapes how you interpret it.
Exactly. And the fact that some readers found it educational, I think that speaks to how fiction can be a tool.
Oh, for sure.
For exploring and understanding different cultures and relationship dynamics.
Yeah. It can open your eyes to new things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One last thing I noticed on the product page is a California Proposition 65 warning.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
Now, it's a little vague. It doesn't specify why it's there.
Right.
It just says, that even digital products sometimes carry these warnings.
Right.
Because of potential links to substances that are known to cause cancer or reproductive harm.
Yeah, it's just a standard disclaimer.
Yeah.
You see it on so many products these days.
But it's always kind of funny to see it on an ebook.
I know, right? You don't usually think of ebooks as being, physically harmful.
Exactly.
But I guess they got to cover their bases.
Right.
Legally.
Okay, so let's bring it all together for the listeners.
Let's wrap it up.
So by A.J. Lee, it's a short, spicy erotic novella.
That's right.
That introduces the world of BDSM through Joslyn's experiences at the Ebony Room and her, encounters with Sir Justin.
That's right.
It was the first in the series, as we mentioned.
Yep.
And it's garnered largely positive reviews.
Yeah, people seem to really like it.
Yeah, particularly for its accessibility for those who are new to BDSM.
Yeah.
And for the dynamic between the characters.
The chemistry's there.
Yeah.
That's what people are saying.
Right. So it seems like it's found a really good readership. It has within the, Black and African American erotica category and is appealing to those who are interested in exploring themes of power dynamics and sexual discovery and is also providing representation that resonates with a lot of readers.
Absolutely.
So this leads to a final thought for you guys.
Okay.
Considering this range of reactions from, immediate immersion, wanting more of the story, to a little bit of initial confusion, you know, what do you think might be the appeal of exploring fictional worlds that delve into power dynamics and sexual exploration?
I mean, I think it's about pushing boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Exploring things that you might not be comfortable with in real life.
Yeah.
But in a safe space. It's like a thought experiment.
Right. And what kind of factors might shape the expectations and interpretations that you or other readers bring to a book?
Well, I think your own personal experiences play a huge role. Like, if you've had experience with BDSM in real life, you're going to come to the book with a different perspective than someone who hasn't.
Right.
And then there's also, your own personal preferences.
Yeah.
Like what kind of stories you're drawn to, what kind of characters you like. All that stuff feeds into it.
It's really complicated.
It is. It's fascinating, though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's food for thought.
It is definitely food for thought.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into...
Yeah, this was a good one.
See